Hello and welcome to the fifth seminar in the Introduction to Linguistics class. Today we're going to continue with phonology. This time we're going to look at another unit of the phonological system, this time bigger than the phoneme. So last week we were looking at how phonemes could be broken down into smaller units. We said that the phoneme is a unit, a segment of the sound system, which can be broken down into these things called distinctive features. A distinctive feature can be looked at then as a sort of a segment of the phoneme, and phonemes are bundles of distinctive features. These features come in binary values. They can be plus something or minus something, and a collection of those features and their values then make up individual phonemes. So is there something bigger than the phoneme? Well, yes, there is, because there is a unit in the sound system called the syllable, which can be made up of one or more phonemes. So the syllable then is something which breaks down into its phoneme components, just like the phoneme breaks down into its feature components. Let's have a look at a few words to see how they break up into their syllables. There are words which are made up of just a single syllable. A word like dog, for example, is split up into three phonemes, d, o, and g. But then there are words which have more than one syllable. Okay, the word donkey, I'm sure everybody intuitively can feel that has two parts to it. There's the don part and the key part to it. Don is a syllable. It has three phonemes in it, just like dog had. I think this is d, o, n. And then key has two phonemes, k and e. Now, for this class, we're going to be just concentrating on the kinds of words which have single syllables in them. These are called monosyllabic words. So in order to look at what makes a syllable and why has dog got one syllable while donkey has two syllables, we need to look at what kinds of things can go into a syllable. Perhaps the simplest and smallest of all syllables just consists of a single vowel. We can have a word like for example, as in a dog. The word there just consists of the schwa vowel. Other words that consist of just vowels tend to be diphthongs, words like I and O and ear, for example. Ear pronounced in the British English way rather than the American one, where you also have the sound at the end of it, but just as ear, it's a simple diphthong. So these are syllables, monosyllabic words, which just consist of a vowel. Now we can have more things in a syllable, so we can have a consonant in front of the vowel. Words like to and see and pay, for example, where we can see we've got a consonant in front of, say, a long vowel or a diphthong. We can also put them the other way around and have the vowel in front of the consonant. So words like it, is, earn, and aim, for example. Then, of course, we can also have a consonant either side of the vowel. So we can have a syllable made up of a consonant, a vowel, followed by a consonant. And we've already seen the word dog is like that, but many other words, like, for example, fine, is also such a syllable. Now, we can put more than one consonant either in front of or behind the vowel in a single syllable. When we do that, we have what is called a consonant cluster, a cluster of consonants. For example, before a vowel, we can have s and k together, so we get sky, or p and l together to get plea. And after the vowel, we can have sk, a consonant cluster, as in ask, or as in elm. In fact, we can go one step further than that and also have the two consonants in front and two consonants behind. So a word like stopped, for example, we've got st and pt at the end, in between, either side of the vowel o. Finally, we can go one step further still and have three consonants in the cluster, either in front of or behind, or both in front and behind. So, for example, spray has spr in front of the vowel a, and axed has got xt following the a vowel, and one pronunciation at least of the word strength or strength, where you pronounce the k at the end of it as well. So you get str and nk together, either side of the e vowel. Okay. So that seems to be the variety of combinations of sounds and phonemes that you can get in a syllable, a single syllable. One thing to notice in all of these syllables is the presence of the vowel. Every syllable seems to contain a vowel. In fact, that's all a syllable needs to contain. It can be made up of just the vowel or a series of consonants in front of or behind the vowel, but every single one of them must contain a vowel. Okay, well that gives us some clue as to how syllables are then structured. A syllable, and we use this symbol, the Greek letter sigma, for to represent the syllable. A syllable has at least a vowel in it, and that central aspect of the syllable is given the name the nucleus. Okay, so every syllable is made up of at least a nucleus, and that nucleus is typically a vowel. Then we can see that we have a possibility of putting consonants from 0 to 3 consonants in front of the nucleus, and same set of things behind the nucleus. The consonants that come in front of the nucleus is referred to as the onset, and the consonant cluster after the nucleus is referred to as the coda. So there's the structure of a syllable then. A syllable consists of three elements: the onset, the nucleus, the coda. The onset and the coda are consonants, and the nucleus is a vowel. Now, there's something more to be said about the structure of syllables, and we can see this by comparing these three kinds of minimal pairs. If you remember, a minimal pair is a pair of words which differ in just one place with one phoneme. Okay, so the word cat and bat differ on the k and b, whereas cat and cap differ on the t and p, and cat and kit differ on the a and the I part. Now, if you compare these three minimum pairs, I think most people would get the intuition that there's something special about that first pair, cat and bat. And in fact, if you ask somebody to come up with a minimal pair involving the word cat, presumably, or I suspect, what they would come up with first of all is a word like bat. That is, one that differs in terms of that first consonant, rather than one that differs in terms of the last consonant, or in fact in the vowel in the middle. And that's because this pair, cat and bat, represents a phenomenon that we're all familiar with, particularly from poetry and poetic language, and that is this notion of rhyming. We say that two words like cat and bat rhyme with each other. Certainly cat and cap are not considered to be a rhyme, or cat and kit are not rhymes. So there's something special about that first pairing of words. they form this rhyming pair. Okay. Now, what does a rhyme mean? What does it mean for something to rhyme? Well, if you look at it, as you can see here, a rhyming pair is something which has a different onset but the same nucleus and coda. So cat and bat have the same at part to them, the nucleus a and the coda t, but they differ in terms of this onset, the k and b part. The other pairs differ in another aspect. So cat and cap have a different coda, but the same onset and nucleus, and cat and kit have the same onset and coda, but a different nucleus. Okay, so there seems to be something special about having a different onset, but the same nucleus and coda. We say then that two words rhyme if they have the same nucleus and coda but a different onset. And that seems to suggest that it's something about the nucleus and coda being the same which has a special status in this the system. We then say that the nucleus and the coda go together to form a unit within the syllable, a sort of a separate sub aspect to the structure of the syllable. And we call this the rhyme. Now note, it's spelled differently from the word rhyme, as in to rhyme. Two words rhyme with each other, but obviously the name was chosen to indicate that that's what this is about. But the word rhyme, spelled R-I-M-E, is special. It names this unit within the syllable that's made up of the nucleus and the coda. Therefore, the structure of the syllable looks like this. The syllable itself breaks up into two parts, the onset and the rhyme, and then the rhyme breaks up into two parts, the nucleus and the coda. And as we've said, the nucleus is the only thing that is necessary in the syllable. Both the onset and the coda don't have to be there. Now, one last thing we need to point out before we get to the end of today's presentation, and that is, as I've said, every syllable must have a nucleus, but there are some syllables which don't appear to have vowels. Take words like button or bottom or bottle and butter. Butter not pronounced in the way I just did, the British English way, but in the American way, where you have this sound at the end, as in butter. Okay, take those words. Now, those are not monosyllabic words, but I want us to concentrate just on the second syllable of these words. What we have in button is this tn, and bottom we've got tum, and bottle, tull, and butter or butter, butter. We've got the kind of combination. Note, those are syllables. These words have two syllables, and the second one is this, and it seems to be consisting of two consonants, a t and a n, or a t and a m, or a t and a l, or a r and a sound. Note, it's not only the t sound that can work like this. Take words like bacon, or Beckham, buckle, and backer, or backer, said with the sound at the end. Happen, clapham, apple, and hamper. So you can get kn and km and kull and cur. You can get pun, pum, and pull and purr. So there's it's not just the t, the k, or the p, because, well, we can actually find it with all sorts of things, not just unvoiced plosives, but voiced ones. So madden, album, and haggle. Okay, so you can get the gull and bum and bun and dun combinations, and not even just plosives. You can get it with fricatives and with liquids and nasals even. So basin, Harlem, helpful, and hammer, hammer, if you press the at the end. So sn, and full, and mer. So it seems to be quite a common thing that we can split up the syllable into two things which are both consonants. Now, if we say those consonants, the first one is the onset, and the second, well, perhaps the coda, what we're going to have to say here is that this syllable is a syllable that doesn't have a nucleus. Now that would be a very strange thing to have, given this idea that the nucleus is the central part of the syllable. How can we have a syllable that doesn't have a nucleus? Well, one thing to notice is that second consonant that we get in all of these cases, while the onset can vary across all sorts of different consonants. In fact, all of the consonants that you can get in the onset position can appear in this position here. The thing that appears in the second position is a very limited set. It's either going to be a nasal, n or m, or an affricate, no, sorry, not an affricate, but an approximant, like o or okay? So it seems then it's nasals and approximants which can appear in this position. And these are, as we saw last week, the consonants which are the sonorant consonants. Now, sonorance is something that is typically associated with vowels. Vowels are considered to be the most sonorant of all of the linguistic sounds. And the kinds of things that we're looking at here, the nasals and the liquids and the approximants, are often referred to as semi-vowels because they have this sonorant aspect to them. But not only that, but precisely because they can appear in this second position in syllables. And probably the better way of looking at this, therefore, is not to say that these things are syllables that don't have a nucleus, just an onset and a coda, but to say that these are special syllables in as much as the nucleus is actually taken over by something which is a consonant. Okay, a limited set of consonants, the consonants which are have vowel-like properties in the terms of they being sonorant type sounds. So these sonorant sounds can actually be nuclei as well as vowels can be. Okay, so let's summarize briefly what we've gone through today. Phonemes we've seen combine into larger units of sound called syllables. And the syllables all syllables have a nucleus, which is usually a vowel, but it can be one of these sonorant consonants, either an approximant or a nasal. Syllables can also have onsets and codas. There can be one or three consonants in the onset and the coda. And the nucleus and the coda go together to form a rhyme. Next week we're going to be looking further at the structure of the syllable, and we're going to be looking into more depth in terms of these consonant clusters that we find in onsets and codas. And we'll also have a look at words which have more than one syllable and look at how they seem to behave with respect to each other. Okay, bye-bye.